So the screen is visible to all of you?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
So in this class, we will be going to learn about this nucleotides and nucleic acid, the basic information about nucleotides and nucleic acids, and their biosynthesis basically. Okay. So this is actually. So this is the basic structure of RNA. Here in the RNA, a hairpin-like structure you can see, and here is all this structure. The A structure is hairpin-like structure, and in this, this is actually some sort of double-stranded RNA, where the RNA get coiled back due to some specific sequences which paired with each other, like GC, you can see AU and GC, and they forms an internal loop and an hairpin like structure. This is a single stranded RNA, but it has complementary sequences, so it get coiled up. Okay. Okay. And this is the secondary structure of rRNA, which is highly coiled, and must be you heard about the clover leaf model, and it is more or less similar of that. It contains various arms and loops and different nucleotides, complementary base pairs. You can see here it is a structure of guanine, which is coupled with uracil, GU base pairing via 3 hydrogen bonds. These 3 hydrogen bonds, which are shown in blue color, basically they involve in they basically responsible for the interaction between guanine and uracil. So here this structure represents a secondary structure of RNA, rRNA. This is the L-shaped structure of tRNA. It is very famous structure, L-shaped structure of tRNA. Okay. So you should know, sometimes in exams they asked the tRNA present in the following shape structure, it forms following shape structure. They could ask about this L shape and like clover leaf model and all. So this is something like the denaturation profile of a nucleic acid, basically DNA. DNA is a double helical structure where each bases they paired with their corresponding base pair via hydrogen bonding. When we enhance the temperature or certain enzymes, they causes, or certain chemicals also, they are responsible for denaturation of double helical DNA. Okay, so these bonds between the two strands get broken down and it get converted into the single stranded structure. Partial denaturation would lead to the production of partial opening of this helix, and there is a you can see there is a partial single stranded structure and partial double stranded structure, and it is a quick process. Partial denaturation is a quick process and happens within few nanoseconds, but complete denaturation of DNA is a slow process. Therefore, during complete denaturation, there occur complete separation of strands. Okay, and these separated strands of DNA, they forms random coils upon separation. You can see this is the actually basically when DNA absorbs, DNA basically absorbs the light in UV range. I earlier I had explained you all about the how one can check the concentration of DNA in the solution. If we take the OD at 260 nanometer, then it will tell us about the concentration of DNA. So 260 nanometer is UV light. DNA absorbs at the UV range. If the absorbance of light decreases at its normal natural wavelength 260 nanometer, then such shift is known as hypochromic shift. And when we will see that shift, hypochromic shift, when DNA get denatured. If DNA get denatured, we will see a decrease in the peak of its original absorbance, and that this phenomena is known as the hypochromic shift. And you can see here with this diagram, like T melting temperature, Tm represents about the melting temperature. When we heated any DNA molecule, like temperature, when we increase the temperature from 75 to towards 80 and 85, then the Tm melting, the Tm is a temperature where DNA get melts completely, okay? It increases because partial denaturation of DNA is quick, but complete denaturation is a slow process. Okay, so remember this, and the curve, if we plot the percent GC versus TM temperature, we can see that as the concentration of GC increases, the T melting temperature of DNA also increases. Why? Why it happens? As the concentration of GC increases, the TM temperature also increases. Why? Okay, take it as a assignment and tell me in the last part of the class. Okay, tell the answer in the last part of the class. This is the electron microscopic image of the DNA, and how this is how DNA looks like a thread, and the resolution of this picture is 3 micrometer. Basically, this is the overall picture, how the di-deoxy nucleotide chain termination reaction can be used to sequence a DNA. This is the structure of DDNTP, where 3-phosphate group along with this ribose sugar and a base is attached. Okay, this is the analog actually. And here one in this method, people basically take 4 types of NTP, DD-ATP, DD-CTP, and DD-GTP and DD-TTP. And this is actually basically when this DD nucleotide incorporated into the chain, then the reaction get terminated. And the point where the reaction get terminated actually known as actually can be counted by the machine because it is fluorescently labeled. So that is why this method is known as chain termination method. Chain termination method. Here you can see that after chain termination, if we carry out the, because these DD-ATPs, they are labeled, and if we carry out the autoradiogram of that electrophoretic gel, then we can see the different fragments and different fragments, and these different fragments basically tells us about the position of like first row tells us about the position of adenine into the DNA. Second row indicates the presence of cytosine. Third row indicates the presence of guanine, and fourth row indicates the presence of thymine. So in this way, people basically typed the DNA or sequenced the DNA by using this chain termination reaction. What they used in a tube, they used a specific type of DD-ATP, and then template, and then primer, and then enzyme, and then other nucleotides. So only single DD-ATP is there which incorporated first, and it terminate the whole reaction. So we will get this type of diagram, okay, or image. This is another method of sequencing in which actually there is a template. In reaction mixture, we take template, primer, and DNTPs, and all the template, primer, and DNTPs get incorporated by DNA polymerase. And when we denature it, dye-labeled segments of DNA, they get copied from template with unknown sequence. Actually, we got actually labeled sequence. So dye-labeled segments of DNA copied from template with unknown sequence, they basically detected via using laser, and we get different profile, different peak. You can see this computer generated results after bands which migrates through detector. So we can see different color bands or different intensity bands for different nucleotides, or in this way we can sequence our target DNA template. Now coming to the more specific part of our today's lecture, that is our biosynthesis of nucleotides and nucleic acids. So first we are going to learn about de novo pathway. What is the de novo pathway? Actually, biosynthesis of nucleotides generally occurs in two types: the de novo biosynthetic pathways and Salvage pathway. De novo pathways mean synthesis of purine or pyrimidine from basic precursors, and salvage pathway means salvage pathways means synthesis of these or recycling of these pyrimidine or purine rings from already present precursors. Okay, so this is basic difference between de novo and salvage pathway. And this structure actually, this is the 9-membered ring structure of purine nucleotide. Like adenine is a 6-aminopurine. This is the 6th carbon where CO2, you can see this blue color, 6 membered ring. This is 6th carbon, and one can start numbering. Actually, as per conventional nomenclature, this aspartate nitrogen, which is donated by aspartate, is first nitrogen. Okay, so we can count from here: 1 2 3 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9. Okay, so third and ninth nitrogen is donated by glutamine. The second carbon is donated by formate and N5 and 10 tetrahydrofolate pathway, and the first nitrogen is donated by aspartate. The 6th carbon is donated by CO2, and the the 4th and 5th carbon and 6th nitrogen is donated by glycine, and 8th carbon is donated by formate. So you should remember all these basic precursors, and from these precursors basically a 9-membered ring gets synthesized, and hence this pathway is known as de novo pathway. Okay, so this is the basic biosynthetic pathway. Here, de novo biosynthesis of nucleotides starts from 5-phosphoribosyl 1-pyrophosphate, that is PRPP. Okay, this I know you must be aware about this structure. This ribosyl, this is the ribose sugar at which 5-phosphate, at 5th carbon, phosphate group is attached, and at first carbon you can see pyrophosphate group is attached. Hence it is known as 5-phosphoribosyl pyrophosphate. Okay, separately, because all the phosphate group are attached at different atom. So the first reaction in this pathway is transfer of amino group and removal of our pyrophosphate group. Okay, so first glutamine is involved here, and glutamine back converted into glutamate, and this glutamine basically donate its amino group at the first carbon. So this compound become 5-phospho beta ribosyl amine. You can see this green color. This green color nitrogen is coming from the glutamine, and it is 5-phospho beta D ribosyl amine. And in the next subsequent step, glycine is interacted. If you people can see this, can memorize this diagram, it would be very easy to learn this pathway, because you can see this pathway basically started from this nitrogen number third, where glutamine is actually first donated its nitrogen. Then what next will come? Next will come glycine. Okay, first nitrogen is from glutamine, then glycine. So in the next step, just add glycine. Okay, in the second step of this pathway, add glycine. And this is also energy requiring step. Here one molecule of ATP converted into ADP in inorganic phosphate. And you can just see, if we put this PRPP, some people can write it directly PRPP. Here it is represented by R. R means your phosphoribosal unit. Okay, just R to make it very simple. If we write the whole structure, it would be complicated. So they put here R, and on R there is nitrogen, NH, and on nitrogen they just add the glycine. Glycine, the structure of glycine is CO, CH2, NH3. Okay, and try to add the structure in just a ring form, so that you should not be confused about the next step, where where you should add the next atom. Okay, next atom is, so glycine is added, and if glycine is added in any compound, it becomes glycinamide, because along with this glycine, amino group is there. So it becomes glycinamide ribonucleotide. R is attached here. Glycinamide ribonucleotide. And from this glycinamide ribonucleotide, it is basically next step. You can see here, next step is formate. Okay, after glycine, formate is going to donate its 1 carbon unit from the pool. So you can see how easy it is. In next step, N5N10 formyl tetrahydrofolate pathway, you can write directly simply here TH4 tetrahydrofolate pathway. It donates its 1 carbon unit here, and the rest of folate remove. So 1 carbon in the form of glycolate bond. So COH. You can see it donates COH. Okay. Now this is the formyl group which is donated by this. So this compound is known as formyl glycinamide ribonucleotide. Formyl glycinamide ribonucleotide. Now we can see again, go back. Next atom is donated by glutamine. So now you can add directly glutamine. Glutamine is removed as glutamate, just it donated its extra amino group to this. And here you can see this amino group is going to attach here. Here actually 5-member ring is synthesized first, and then 6-member ring, followed by the synthesis of 6-member ring. Okay. So next nitrogen is added here in this CO group, ketone group. So ketone group is basically, this is transamination sort of reaction. Keto group is transported to this, and amino group is attached here at the CO position. You can see this green color amino group. So this is now known as what? Formyl glycinamidine ribonucleotide. Why it is known as glycinamidine? Because this is double bond, and double bond is always represented as ene. Okay, if you know basic nomenclature. So it is formyl glycinamidine ribonucleotide. Next step is just energetic step. Here energy is needed in the form of ATP and ADP, inorganic phosphate, and water molecule get removed. And this is just a ring closer step. Okay, just one nitrogen is attached here, and this is a ring closer step. Here water molecule is removed, H2O is removed, and now your 5-member ring get complete. Okay, H2O is removed and N get fused with CH, and now this compound is actually, this ring is imidazole ring. If you remember, this ring is imidazole ring. So now its name become 5-amino imidazole ribonucleotide. Okay, 5-amino imidazole ribonucleotide, because at the 5th carbon there is attachment of amino group. And the next step, as you all know, in the next step there occur attachment of CO2 at the top on this carbon. Okay, so CO2 is CO2 comes in the form of your bicarbonate, है ना, and one molecule of ATP which get converted into ATP in inorganic phosphate, and CO2 is attached here in this position. You just see this is actually CO2 is attached at this carbon. Okay, the at the upper carbon. Okay, COO in the form of COO. And this is again this reaction, if you go back, then after CO2 this nitrogen is donated by aspartate. So there occur again a transamination reaction, aspartate is involved and one molecule of ATP is involved, and the aspartate is as it is attached to this CO. Okay, as it is, the structure of aspartate is COO negative, CH2, CH, COO negative. So here there occur formation of, in this reaction, peptide bond, CONH, covalent bond, and this is known as N-succinylo 5-amino imidazole 4-carboxamide ribonucleotide. Basically, when CO2 group is attached here, it is known as 5-amino 4-carboxamino imidazole ribonucleotide, because this group is known as carboxamino group. Okay, and the succinate part of aspartate is again attached here, and in the subsequent reaction, which is catalyzed by lyase enzyme, fumarate is removed here, and after removal of fumarate, only NH2 group of aspartate left, and now it become 5-amino imidazole 4-carboxamide ribonucleotide. And as we can see from here, this formate is donated, this carbon is donated again by formate, and you can see N10 formyl tetrahydrofolate donate its one carbon here. It get attached to this amino group in the form of aldehyde CHO, and it become N-formyl, like we have previously seen nomenclature, N-formyl amino imidazole 4-carboxamide ribonucleotide. Okay, next step is just dehydration step, one water molecule removed, and there occur complete ring closure. So this ring get closed, H2O is removed, and it become complete 9-membered ring, and this compound is known as inosinate monophosphate. What is name? Inosinate monophosphate. IMP is a precursor of rest of the purine nucleotides like AMP and GMP. They are produced from inosinate. So from here, I am just going to ask you, if you have any question, you can ask anytime. Okay.